Metal fingers beckoning to the invisible, calling to sound the ear cannot hear, and sight beyond the range of the unaided eye. Our era, the era of television.
Hey, you! BBC! We won't pay our license fee!
I think it's absolutely scandalous that the governments are targeting all the poorest, most vulnerable people in our society. They've hit the disabled, the unemployed, single parents, and now they're coming after pensioners. And to say that we're rich pensioners is ridiculous. We've got the lowest pension in the developed world, and we just get a few little crumbs like this to top up, and they even want to take that off us. And they say, oh, well, it's necessary for austerity, there's no money. The rich have doubled their wealth in the last 10 years. There are more billionaires in this country than ever before. So why are they hitting the poorest people?
Both of my parents are pensioners. My dad's 75 in January, my mum's 75 the year after. But the average pensioner who's hitting 75 has been paying for their TV licence for a minimum of 50 years, like 1969, probably before that. So, you know, they've invested in that. And what I'm thinking about this is now, the BBC have known this is coming when they took that deal, and they have done nothing to do about it. Meanwhile, our MPs who passed this through still getting a free TV licence, and now we've got the horror of not RPM in charge. I have serious doubts that this isn't the first thing that's going to happen.
To be leading the demonstration so that it doesn't go too fast and it's going at your pace. So please, if you do have any mobility difficulties, go over to Ralph or Jab here now, and you're going to be the first going out.
Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC. We won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our license fee.
I'm not 75 yet, but I've been retired a couple of years, and it's clear that the government have got pensioners in their sights. Attacking the TV licence, there's been open talk of taking travel allowances off us. It's an absolute disgrace that they should look at the elderly to make cuts. I think they're doing it because they attack all working class people, they demonise the poor in our society, they cut welfare benefits, they create poverty, all to give tax handouts to the rich. They're the rich people's party, and they're visiting their policies on the poor.
Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC. We won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, you, BBC, we won't pay our
Well, it's from the poll tax movement. That's what finally defeated the poll tax. When people said, we're just not going to pay us, and they tried to put people in jail. There was a mass uprising, and the poll tax was dropped, and we got rid of Mrs. Thatcher, and we want a similar campaign. And if there is a can't pay, no pay movement, we want protection from the unions and the labour movement, so there are no consequences.
And the point is, at the end of the day, we in Britain, and I'll say it twice, we've got the lowest pension in the whole of the OECD. We've got the lowest pension. So it's not one thing, just the pension. It's loads of things, loads of attacks on the elderly. All of the cuts are attacks on the elderly. And the BBC, whatever the story, you can't get the right story. At the end of the day, the BBC have decided, alongside with the government, to take the TV licences off the elderly. Absolutely appalling.
It is not the responsibility of the BBC to means test how dare they do the dirty work of the government. They should be ashamed of themselves. At a time when pensioner poverty is rising, at a time when life expectancy is starting to fall, at a time when austerity is having a terrible impact all across the generations, what do they go for? They go for the pensioners. Now, we consider that taking this free television licence away from the 75-year-olds, it's the thin end of the wedge. Because if they can get away with doing that, the next thing they'll be looking at will be the winter fuel allowance. And then they'll start looking at the bus pass. And then they'll start looking at free prescriptions, free eye tests, and so on. And they will go all out to hammer the most vulnerable sections in society.
There's 10 million people in this country, including pensioners, who haven't got a penny, not one penny, in savings. There are 3 million families, including pensioners, who've got less than a month's worth of savings. This is complete war, particularly on older people, but it's happening, it's going to happen to younger people, and it's all about privatising the BBC, privatising the NHS, and taking every single gain that we have made as a class in the last century, taking every single one of those gains off us, and we have to fight it, and we will.
Everybody must agree, we won't pay no license fee. Everybody must agree, we won't pay no license fee.
Remember, I don't need to tell people in this city to remember when Maggie took milk off our kids. This is the same thing. The television for a lot of elderly people is a lifeline. Loneliness is an epidemic. It's absolutely outrageous. And to do this, to take this from the elderly people, is cruelty. And let's think about who's 75 in this day and age. I'll tell you who's 75. Our dockers are in the 70s. Our miners are in the 70s. Our Ford workers are in the 70s. The people who stood up and broke their backs to set the employment legislation that we've got in this country today, that most workers take for granted. It was you people who stood up for all of us and set the groundwork for our futures and for our working environments. And we've now got to return the favour. We've got to stand up for you. If they take them free licences off the 75-year-olds, then we're going to boycott paying our television licences. And that's got to be across the board, across the country. We've got to get a grassroots movement coming together to stand up for our pensioners. This is not going to be the end of it. We are serious about discussing a can't pay, won't pay on the TV licences. Remember the poll We broke the poll tax. We broke them. We have to do the same, because if we don't, not only will the TV licences go, watch out for your fuel allowance going.
And your bus pass.
And your bus passes, and don't forget that the £10 Christmas bonus quietly disappeared somewhere over the horizon. We didn't get it. And if we do not win this fight, those youngsters who were out there on the street with us will have nothing when they come to retire. Absolutely nothing. They'll end up on the streets as elderly people working into their 80s. So we are doing our bit for the younger generation, Tory government. We're making sure we defend their futures and defend their old age by making sure you do not get away with these cuts to elderly people. You do not get away with smearing elderly people as these wealthy people who don't give a damn about young people. Come to Liverpool. In Liverpool, we'll show you all the generations united. We will remain united, and we will fight.